Hello, this is Ali, welcoming you to the 2136th edition of the Enfield Talking newspaper, Dateline 15th of March 2018. The readers this week are Kitty, Ali and John, with Peter on the controls. The editor was Phillip, and the production and distribution team is Jean, Lindsay and Reena. Our title music is Country Rock Polka, composed by Pat Prilly, Fernand Bouillon, Harry Breuer, and performed by Jean-Jacques Perret, and is used with his kind permission. The local news stories that we will be reading come from the Enfield Independent and the Edmonton Green Magazine and are their copyright. The events information has been collated by us from other sources. The lead story this week is New Plaque Honours Inspirational Women. Before the news, the sunrise and sunset times for the week beginning the 18th of March are sunrise 0608 and sunset 1810. Do get in touch with us to share your own news and special announcements. We'd love to hear from you. If you have any comments about the Enfield Talking newspaper, please phone Diane de Jersey on 020-8805-6578. She is your listener's representative and will be pleased to help you. Now John will read the first item of local news.
New plaque honours inspirational women. A commemorative plaque marking the fight for equality and the suffragette movement has been unveiled. The Mayor of Enfield, Christine Hamilton, unveiled the historic plaque at Palmer's Green Triangle on Thursday, on the very spot where, in June 1914, a group of suffragettes attempted to hold a meeting. At the time, a crowd of hostile men attempted to break up the meeting and mounted police were called to restore order. More than 100 years later, those angry scenes were reenacted by volunteers and historians from the borough, including Enfield Council's Cabinet Member for Community, Arts and Culture, Yasmin Brett. Ms Brett said, "We are incredibly proud of Enfield's role in the suffrage movement. Palmer's Green, Winchmore Hill and Southgate in particular were strong centres for activity. Many leading lights of this struggle, women and men, visited the area to make the case for equal voting rights and to help the movement further. We have come a long way since then. 100 years on, and all women can now vote in the UK. Without the grit, determination and full belief in equality of the suffragettes, I would not be able to stand here today with my colleagues to mark International Women's Day and honour the ongoing work of many inspiring women in Enfield." Councillor Brett also mentioned the #MyVoteEnfield campaign. With local elections scheduled to take place on May the 3rd, adults in Enfield are being urged to check that their names are on the electoral register. The voting theme was explored further at an event at Palmer's Green Library following the unveiling ceremony. Enfield's Youth Parliament gave a speech on the importance of voting from a young person's perspective, and they were joined by other speakers.
Teachers pioneering human rights workshops. Pioneering teacher, passionate about educating young people, has won an award from a human rights organisation. Lisa Hughes, head of sixth form at an Enfield school, lobbied to get pupils workshops about honour-based violence, forced marriage and female genital mutilation on the school's curriculum. Now, at Winchmore School, the older pupils learn about the help that is available should they be worried that they or their friends could be at risk of those issues. But Lisa didn't stop there. When approached by the Iranian and Kurdish rights organisation, IKWRO, she agreed to help promote the programme across the country and became the school's ambassador for the IKWRO's Right to Know campaign. Lisa of Winchmore School, Laburnum Grove, said, "I wanted to raise awareness for the amazing work that the organisation does and help young people be aware of this crucial information." In 2016, the school hosted the first ever National Schools Conference on combating honour-based violence, organised by IKWRO, Youth for Change and Not in My Classroom. This groundbreaking conference brought together more than 100 representatives from all aspects of the education sector, including teachers' unions, teacher training providers, state schools, academies, and school safeguarding police officers. Lisa also took the cause to the Houses of Parliament, where she spoke on a panel passionately advocating for the campaign. Lisa added, "I was extremely honoured to be presented with this award and want to thank IKWRO."
Pupils learn Mandarin with help from Beijing teacher. Pupils at a school in Enfield are learning a new language with the help of their Beijing-based teacher. Walker Primary School has seen amazing results since signing up to My Chinese Teacher program, a popular Chinese language program currently teaching Mandarin to over 12,000 students globally. Children in Year 5 at the school in the Green Waterfall Road learn Mandarin via Skype with their teacher Yikun, and many say it's their favourite lesson. Once a week they sit down with Yikun, who gives an exciting lesson full of props. Then the school's modern language teacher, Mrs. Lucas, follows up lessons with fun activities reflecting Chinese culture sent by Yikun. Teacher Miss Frances Warhurst said, "The children speak weekly to their tutor via Skype and have picked up the language extremely quickly. They have really enjoyed the lessons, and the project has enabled many to shine with a 100% pass rate." Parents have commented that their children think it's a firm favourite in the school week, as well as preparing the children for a global future. We're also lucky to be supported by one of our parents from the Chinese community. In 2014, the UK's Department of Education announced their ambition to double the number of Chinese learners, particularly in schools, by 2020.
Posthumous book launch. Actor and director arranges poetry and music charity fundraiser with late mother's writing. An actor and director from Barnet is currently working on a new show with professional actors from stage and screen. The show at the Chicken Shed Theatre, which will be raising money for Marie Curie, will feature poetry from his late mother. Matthew Ashford has lived in Barnet for 25 years. His credits as an actor feature both stage and TV shows such as Mr. Cranbourne in Hetty Feather on CBBC, PC Tony Kresge in several episodes of EastEnders on BBC, and appearances in Doctors, Casualty, Mr. Selfridge, Father Brown, Mayday, Being Human, Phone Shop, and many more. He is currently producing and directing an evening of poetry and an eclectic mix of live music in aid of the Cancer Care and Support Charity taking place on Sunday, March the 25th. The production is entitled I'll See You in My Dreams and will be the springboard for the posthumous launch of his mum's book, The Ballad of Edna Pugh and Other Poems. Matthew's mum, Kate Ashford, a resident of Barnet for many years, passed away last August, shortly after being diagnosed with leukemia. The lineup for the performance includes a host of well-known professional actors from stage and screen, reading poems from the book and singing musical theatre songs. They include leading West End leading lady Hannah Waddingham, Game of Thrones, Jasmine Gregg, Episodes, Green Wing, and The Archers, Meera Syal, The Kumars' Goodness Gracious Me, Anne Mitchell, who's Cora in EastEnders, Eva Pope, Waterloo Road and Hetty Feather, Wendy Peters, who plays Scylla Battersby in Coronation Street, Andrew, now it's either Pollek or Pollech, I'm not sure, and Christina Bennington, the two lead actors from the Meatloaf West End musical Bat Out of Hell, Barnet resident and actor Gordon Warneck, My Beautiful Laundrette, and several other professional performers from stage and screen. The performance will also feature the London School of Musical Theatre Alumni Choir, where Matthew regularly teaches. Finishing off the performance will be newly formed Barnet band Seven Ages, who are an 11-piece outfit between the ages of 9 and 76, and will be performing well-known pop and rock covers. All proceeds will be going to Marie Curie, who will also have representatives at the theatre, including Marie Curie nurses. Representatives of the charity The Good Grief Trust will also be in attendance. That's Chicken Shed Theatre, Rain Theatre, 290 Chase Side, N14 4PE. Details may be obtained by phoning 020 8292 9222 or email chickenshed.org.uk.
Woman dies after fall. A woman has died after she fell from a block of flats. Police and the London Ambulance Service were called at 6:20 a.m. on Friday to Plevna Road, Edmonton Green. They found a woman in her 40s and she was pronounced dead at the scene.
Details of this year's big free festival in Enfield have been unveiled, and organisers promise another year to remember. Health is the theme for the 2018 Palmer's Green Festival, with each of the 100 stalls tasked with building a stronger, healthier community. As well as health and well-being, there'll be the usual favourites: a fun fair, 2 music stages, dog competitions, and world champion dancing running throughout the day. Festival organiser and NHS worker Phillip said, "When I heard that only 1 in every 20 residents of Enfield are getting enough exercise, I stood back in amazement. Apparently, we spend $1 million per year on car journeys of less than 2 miles. For the sake of a bit of walking or cycling, we are dying unnecessarily early, and even spending loads to do it." Phillip went on to explain how he will be supplying the festival's catering stalls with details from the Healthy Catering Commitment for London, and will ask all stallholders to address health and well-being in their offers. Heather Oakley of Salsatricity is the coordinator of the festival's dance zone. She said, "Dancing is one of those super exercises. It's fun and good for your mind as well as your body. It's good for brain power, eases stress, is good for the elderly, and at the other age extreme, who can't help but smile at a youngster learning to dance? We have it all at the festival, and even provide lessons for free, often by the best of the best. We really are talking world champions." Organisers are encouraging everyone to come on bikes or by foot to the festival on Sunday, September the 2nd, from 12 p.m. to 7 p.m. in Broomfield Park.
Sports clubs' chance to bid for new grants. Sports clubs can compete for a pot of cash to help pay for new kit or equipment. For the first time, Haringey sports organisations can bid for grants of up to £2,500 from Wembley Stadium, who are giving a slice of their revenue to community sports activities. It can be for new shirts, sports equipment, or even minor building works to sports premises. With a pot of £100,000 available, the programme will provide grants of up to £2,500, as in fact they've just said. The scheme is open for applications from now until April the 6th, with decisions to be announced in early May. Joseph Ayefor, Haringey Council's Cabinet Member for Customer Services, said, "It's important that grassroots organisations get the support they need to develop our future sports talent. To apply, visit www.wnst.org.uk/how-to-apply.
Have your say. Improved travel links, new shops, and the restoration of historic buildings are just a few of the things planned for a facelift of Tottenham High Road. Haringey's council draft, Tottenham High Road Strategy, has been drawn up with the help of locals and includes a wide range of proposals designed to improve the area. Details include restoring historic buildings, encouraging more people to shop and socialise in the area, reducing congestion and creating more local jobs. Steps to improve green spaces, retail parades and walking routes, as well as support for businesses and traders, are also part of the scheme aimed at bringing a new lease of life to Tottenham High Road. Local residents and businesses have until March the 23rd to comment on the proposals currently on display at Marcus Garvey Library. The council says feedback will help shape future plans and investment for the High Road and surrounding areas. Council Cabinet Member for Housing, Regeneration and Planning, Alan Strickland, said Tottenham is an historic area with outstanding diversity. The High Road is the spine running through Tottenham, and the community needs to be at the heart of any plans to improve the area's environment and boost its prospects.
Opticians raising awareness. Staff at an optician's surgery are wearing hats for a day to raise awareness and vital funds for research into brain tumours. A team at Specsavers in Tottenham are dressing up to raise money for the Brain Tumour Research Charity on March the 29th. They also hope to raise awareness that routine eye tests can detect signs of brain tumours. Ayan Gunasingham, store director in High Road, Tottenham, said, Many people are unaware that eye tests are not only critical for your eyes, but your wider health too. A routine test allows opticians to detect serious issues that can be both sight and, in some cases, life-threatening, including brain tumours. Wear a Hat Day has raised more than £1 million since it was launched by the charity 9 years ago. Brain tumours kill more people under the age of 40 than any other cancer, but it receives just 1% of the national spend on cancer research. To get involved, go to www.wearahatday.org or text HAT to 70660.
Young entrepreneurs take first step on the journey. Students from the College of Haringey, Enfield and North East London, or CONEL for short, attended the Big Idea Challenge 2018 Boot Camp Day at the heart of London's entrepreneurial district. On Monday the 26th of February, students took part in the boot camp at NatWest's headquarters in the City of London. The Big Idea Challenge is run by Accelerator, London Metropolitan University's business incubator, in partnership with NatWest, Microsoft, the Prince's Trust, Lucidica, Full Tilt Communications and the Barbican. The competition works closely with school and college students across London to raise awareness and interest in an entrepreneurial career. Ledian Hodjai, a student from CONEL, said, "We are thankful for the opportunity we had to discuss our work with our mentor. Our idea is skyscraper airbags, which is designed to save lives of people who live in high-rise buildings should they need to leave quickly." The team is made up of Ledian Hodjai and Andy Dirici. The Enfield-based students will progress to the finals of the competition, where their idea will be judged alongside several other ideas from London-based schools and colleges. The winner will be announced on the 26th of April at an awards ceremony held at the Guildhall School of Music and Drama, and the winning team will be able to launch their business idea. Toby Kress, head of Accelerator at London Met, said, "London Met is committed to giving young people the opportunity to change their lives for the better. And one of the most powerful ways to do this is to give them the tools to start their own business one day. For those that dream of being entrepreneurs, this competition is the first step on the journey."
Nature lovers plea. Nature lovers from the Greenest estate in Haringey are pleading with the council to stop pruning trees in the nesting season. Blue tits, jays and thrushes are all building their nests in the highest branches of the Ferry Lane estate, away from danger. But their efforts are being thwarted and their future young endangered by Haringey's tree maintenance programme, which began this week. Nature officer of Ferry Lane Action Group, or FLAG, and long-time resident Jeanette Sitton said if only the council did the work earlier in the year, the birds would be saved. Miss Sitton said, "It makes me so cross. They do this every year and we find the nests on the ground. The birds are busy building their nests now, especially after the deep freeze we've just had. The higher branches are being chopped down, leaving them nowhere to do it. This is the greenest estate in the borough. We have wildflower meadows, bird boxes that encourage loads of birds. We even have bats here. It just feels like all the great things we do to encourage nature are being undone by the council." The RSPB advises that trees are cut between September and February to protect the birds. But, despite repeated requests, FLAG can't get the council to change their minds. A Haringey Council spokeswoman said, "Haringey Council respect the advice from the RSPB, and we always follow best practice with regards to tree maintenance. Our contractors are aware of their responsibilities under the Wildlife and Countryside Act 1981, which protects nesting birds. Trees must be inspected for wildlife prior to commencing any work, and if they find active nests, they must prune around them if safe to do so, or leave the trees until later in the year. Unfortunately, it is not practical to concentrate all of our tree work in the period outside of the bird nesting season, but our tree surgeons and gardeners are always vigilant while working."
MP praises Sixth Form Academy for giving first-class education. An MP was given a tour of a new sixth form in Tottenham. Catherine West, MP for Hornsey and Wood Green, chatted to students at the new London Academy of Excellence in Tottenham. The school opened last year to 113 students in Year 12, of which 60% are from the most deprived backgrounds, marked out as high academic achievers. Based on the site of Tottenham Hotspur Football Club's new development, LAE Tottenham employs teachers from Highgate School and is sponsored by Tottenham Hotspur Football Club. Speaking during the visit on Friday, the March 2nd, Catherine West MP said, LAE Tottenham will provide a fantastic opportunity, ensuring students are given the first-class education they deserve.
Spurs seek military veterans to staff stadium. Tottenham Hotspur has announced that the club is recruiting military veterans to staff its new stadium. The club's charitable foundation has partnered with military charity Sporting Force for an initiative that will see 50 ex-servicemen and women offered training and they will be hired as stewards, security staff and hosts. Working-age veterans are nearly twice as likely to be unemployed as their peers who have not been in the armed forces, according to the Royal British Legion. A few applicants met players, including Harry Kane and Eric Dyer, at their training centre in Enfield last week. One of them was Daniel Bingley, aged 33, a huge Spurs fan, who was discharged in September due to a leg injury and post-traumatic stress disorder. This is the largest veteran recruitment scheme by any Premier club. Successful candidates will complete a training course at the club and will be qualified in time for the opening of the stadium later this year. Tommy Lowther, Sporting Force founder, said, "After leaving the military, adjusting to civilian life can be challenging. Many veterans are unable to find work and therefore suffer financially. Working in partnership with Tottenham Hotspur Football Club is a brilliant opportunity to give ex-servicemen and women a new sense of purpose and a feeling of belonging. The new stadium will be the largest capacity football club stadium in London, creating a new sports and leisure facility for the capital, a new museum, an innovative skywalk, shops, restaurants and a hotel, and is estimated will attract more than 2 million visitors per year. To apply, go to www.sportingforce.org.
This is Pluck for Pilot, written by Colin Pomeroy, a squadron leader of the RAF, retired, and chairman of the Woolsey Society. On 18th of January 1949, a flight of 4 Spitfire aircraft took off from RAF Chivenna, North Devon. 1 instructor and 3 students. Sadly, one of the students, qualified pilot David Allen Peake, born in Edmonton in January 1926, who was flying Spitfire MKLF-16, serial number TE440, code UUZ, became separated from his colleagues during recovery to Chivenna in poor weather, and shortly afterwards was seen to crash into a field on the northern outskirts of the village of Woolsey, suffering fatal injuries. As next year is the 70th anniversary of the accident, we in Woolsey tentatively thought that it might be a thoughtful gesture to place a plaque in our local church commemorating David Peake, and should this go ahead, it would be especially nice to welcome to the event any of his relatives and contemporaries that we could trace. Thus, if anyone has any information on his family and friends, I would be truly delighted to hear from them. I do know that David had an older brother, Clifford, born 1922, and that Clifford and his wife Joyce had 2 sons, David, born 1951, Brian, born 1953, and a daughter, Christine, born 1957.
And now I've got a letter from a regular contributor, David Hughes of Palmer's Green, under the heading Cycling Culture. And he writes, "I'm sorry to hear that Lord's DIY," and there was a heading Loss of Trade in letters on March the 7th, "lost so much business during the construction of cycle lanes on the A105 Green Lanes. Having shopped there, I admire what I've seen of the business and may well shop there again, although at 80 that's much less likely than it used to be." Peter Johns, under the title Shopping Habits, which was letters also March the 7th, recognises the general problems for high street shops along green lanes and implies that the cycle lanes will make matters worse, with Boris Johnson at the root of the problem. So I repeat and emphasise that the National Conservative government provided the money, £100 million, which Boris, a keen cyclist himself, split 3 ways in the Mini Holland competition. Note, though, that a local Labour administration made the bid for the money, which I suggest means that all 3 levels of government understand that we cannot go on growing traffic, reducing exercise and curbing children's freedoms. There is nothing dark and mysterious about this move to a walking and cycling culture, as Peter Johns seems to think. Cities worldwide, including in Britain, are following the example of the Scandinavian countries, at least partly because they must. My favourite, though, is further south, Strasbourg. None of them are the ghost towns he fears. After all, cycling is a much more social activity than sitting in a car alone.
And now a letter about deaf services from Stephen Eilith and Pauline Latcham, an open letter to Enfield Council. As a deaf journalist, Stephen, and a deaf councillor, Pauline, living in Enfield, we write urgently to ask you, as a council leader, to reconsider your imminent funding cut to a lifeline for some of the borough's most vulnerable people. At last week's Deaf Forum meeting at Community House, attended by several of your fellow councillors, the local deaf community was caught unawares by the decision to cease funding in just 3 weeks' time of the Deaf Project's information and advice work. When questioned at the Deaf Forum, each and every one of your 6 councillors present conceded that they were unaware of this decision's potentially devastating impact on local deaf British Sign Language users. Many deaf people who use British Sign Language as their first or preferred language also lack sufficient fluency in English as a second language to engage non-specialist information and advice services. In this context, your Head of Strategy's Performance and Policy, Doug Wilson's proposal to outsource the service to Community Barnet is a grave risk. Community Barnet is a generic service provider that does not have specialist staff with deaf awareness or British Sign Language skills. It does not provide an equivalent service to Enfield's Deaf Project and merely signposts inquiries to other information services who, in turn, also lack these skills. Neither do the Council's website or telephone services address the issue. These are English language based and inaccessible to those reliant on British Sign Language. Last night, many of Enfield's Deaf Project users testified to the positive impact of information and advice service. From health to social care, financial to legal matters, the service plays a generally unacknowledged role in preempting individual client situations from deteriorating to crisis stage. In doing so, it effectively reduced workload on other already hard-pressed borough services. We do empathise with the predicament that the Council faces due to central government funding cuts and the dilemma that you face of prioritising services within a shrinking annual budget. However, we fear on this occasion councillors have been poorly advised. The proposed cuts will represent a false economy due to worsening of local deaf people's health and social outcomes and the resultant increased pressure on other borough services. Indeed, Mr Wilson's proposal will potentially increase costs within the borough. If and when deaf people present to Community Barnet or to other information and advice providers, they will only be able to access such services through the provision of a sign language interpreter working on fee basis. And under the Equality Act, you will be legally bound to provide dramatically increased fees paid to enable sign language interpreter access or face potential legal action for failure to do so. In the final analysis, we fear Mr Wilson has overlooked that it is far more cost-effective to maintain a specialist information and advice hub, even on a modest scale, than to offload hidden costs onto other borough services. We are deeply concerned as to how Mr Wilson has assessed the cost-benefit impact of this baffling decision and how this was explained or not to councillors. Above all, it was an act of bad faith by the council to cancel last January's Deaf Forum meeting, giving Mr Wilson had a responsibility to consult the local deaf community further, assuming his decision was in the pipeline. We have now just 3 weeks before the Deaf Project's information and advice service closes. Over a decade of accumulated deaf-specific relationships and insight will be lost. May we urge you, Doug, to intervene and halt this funding cut before it is too late.
And now a few events that are coming up at Millfield Theatre. First one is Saturday the 14th of April starting at 7:45 p.m. Tickets are £22, concessions £20, and it's the Bob Dylan Story. The Bob Dylan Story is the stunning and definitive live concert celebration of rock music's greatest icon. With some of the most memorable songs ever written, Bob Dylan created the soundtrack for 1960s America, amassing a huge and enduring fan base that even extended across the Atlantic to bands like the Beatles and the Rolling Stones. Experience the thrill and energy of a full-blown electric Dylan concert planted firmly in the 1960s, a time when anything seemed possible, in a show that will remind you what real nostalgia feels like, and have you digging out your old vinyl to sustain the pleasure just a little bit longer. So just to remind you, that's Saturday the 14th of April.
And I've got one, 7 Drunken Nights, and that's not K-N-I-G-H-T, it's N-I-G-H-T. So 7 Drunken Nights, it's back and even bigger. Following a sold-out smash hit show, 7 Drunken Nights, which is the story of the Dubliners, returns in April. The show brings to life the music of Ireland's favourite sons, the Dubliners. This celebration of the music of the Dubliners is a celebration of Irish music itself, and a guaranteed evening of music, humour and craic. Book early to avoid disappointment. Don't miss it, says Irish World. It's on Thursday the 12th of April at 7:45 p.m, and tickets are £22.50.
A treat for Rod Stewart fans. Some Guys Have All the Luck, the Rod Stewart story. Some Guys Have All the Luck is a fantastic theatrical production celebrating the career of one of rock's greatest icons, Rod Stewart, from street busker through to international superstar. I've seen some Rods in my time, but Paul is the best one I've ever seen, says Don Stewart, Rod Stewart's brother. Sunday the 8th of April, 7:45 is the date and time. Tickets are £23.
And under the heading Changes to Bowie, a celebration of the music of David Bowie, you can experience and enjoy over 40 years of Bowie songs with style and panache. With the vocal talents of 2001 Stars in Their Eyes finalist Tony Perry, the band feature a lineup reminiscent of Bowie live shows from the 90s until his final performances. The much-loved hits will entertain you, alongside lesser-known album tracks and more recent material. Celebrate the man and his music together. We can be heroes forever and ever. What do you say? And that will be Friday the 20th of April, 7:45 p.m.
Hit Park
Tickets,
for £6.
£22.
Enfield Borough enjoyed an impressive return to action following a weather-enforced 18-day break as they thrashed Wadson Park 6-2. The visitors started last Wednesday's game 2 places and 4 points above Enfield in the table, but that counted for little as Borough produced their best league display of this year. Wadson held firm until just after the half hour when Isaac Stevens' cross cleared the backpedalling keeper to score. That lead was doubled when Solomon Nwabwakai's pass enabled Bruno Tavares to net at the second attempt. Tavares doubled his tally in the 53rd minute from Kane James Thompson's through ball, and the scorer was to complete his first hat-trick for the club soon after with an overhead kick to make it 4-0. After Park had pulled one back and James Thompson had been sent off for pushing an opponent, Henderson Brown fired home from 25 yards. Wadson scored their second from a penalty, beg pardon, but Borough made it 6 when Tavares turned provider for Richard Ennin to stroke home.
And more football. The heading, Enfield looking to build on win against Staines next. Towners triumph over Trawler Boys. Enfield Town will be aiming to complete back-to-back home league wins for the first time since December on Saturday when they entertained playoff-chasing Staines Town, buoyed by a 3-0 victory over Lowestoft Town. Goals from Matt Mitchell-King, Ryan Blackman and Liam Hope completed a relatively comfortable afternoon's work for Andy Lease's men to leave them 14th in the Bostik Premier Division, 3 points behind Thurrock, but with a game in hand. The Towners, who were beaten by the Trawler Boys by the same scoreline in the reverse fixture last month, saw their cause aided by being rather gift-wrapped the first 2 goals by the troubled club, who this week launched an appeal to raise £50,000 to ensure their survival. Enfield made the early running, as Sam Youngs and Tyler Campbell both had shots but off target. However, there was a scare for the home side when the ball was played between goalkeeper Joe Wright and Samir Bihumutin but Harvey Hodd was unable to make the most of the opportunity. Youngs cleared the target with a free kick from a threatening position, and Mickey Parcel was also unable to work the visiting keeper, but opposite number Wright was forced into action to deal with a Sean Bammond effort. Town were getting closer to making the breakthrough as Youngs hit the woodwork and Simon Thomas narrowly failed to get his head on the end of a Durnell Winter cross before the deadlock was broken 5 minutes before the break. Adam Martin and Teofik Olomawewe both had efforts blocked, but from a third attempt in the same scramble, Ben Dudzinski was unable to keep out Mitchell King's shot, despite getting down to the ball. It briefly looked like Lowestoft had instantly levelled when Hodd had the ball in the net. This was quickly ruled out for offside. Lease's side established clear daylight 10 minutes into the second half, when Youngs was felled off in the penalty area as Winter chased a ball to the corner flag, and Blackman confidently converted the resultant spot kick. The visitors kept plugging away following this setback, with substitute Cyan Wren heading over a free kick when well placed before Wright did well to catch a good effort from Hodd. But after Olomawewe, fresh from having his loan from Wealdstone extended by another month, had headed a corner over, Town finished the contest the stronger. Hope hit the crossbar after Dudzinski had been unable to hold a shot from substitute Aaron Green. But a third goal did arrive at the death, as Hope finished after replacement Jack Hockney had pulled the ball back to him.
On to rugby. Ignatians secure potentially crucial point. After an uplifting January and poor February, Enfield Ignatians resumed their quest for survival in London 2 Northwest by battling hard to secure a losing bonus point in a 29-22 loss against Hackney in Spring Hill on Saturday. With 11th placed Harrow, the side hot on their heels, failing to deliver against Hemel Hempstead, Ignatians will be the more satisfied of the two sides and now turn their attentions to home games against Chiswick and Belsize Park. The match began poorly for the visitors after they leaked a try in the opening minutes as centre Sean Connor fired Hackney in front. Enfield's cause was further hammered by injuries to fly half Paul Duke and hooker Ben Mills, but Jack Bates got them on board with a penalty. Approaching half-time, disaster struck again for Ignatians as open-side flanker Dave Ackersdyke was given a free run to the line to give Hackney a 12-3 lead. Ignatians were smarter out of the blocks after the restart, and within minutes they opened up their opponents. Luke Stack wasn't short of support, and although he was shackled yards from the line, he reacted immediately and barrelled his way over. Bates added the extras, but Hackney's lead, reduced to 2 points, was extended to 7 after fly half Alex O'Hara claimed his first try. Enfield responded with a second try after a fine break from centre George Cox created a clear overlap. But this was squandered with the last Ignatians attacker bundled into touch inches short. Undaunted, the visitors stole Hackney's defence's line-out and successfully stretched the hosts in 2 directions before banking right, where unmarked prop Ray Hayes forced his way over in the corner. Ignatians' defensive frailties were to be exposed twice more, though, as O'Hara scored his second try before Jim Miller also went over. That Enfield rescued something from the game was down to the obstinacy of their forwards, who won a key turnover close to Hackney's 22. Successfully probing the left flank, they had bodies, and number 8 Wes Warren successfully probed the blind side. However, it still needed Bates' last gasp
some
conversion
articles from
to
the
secure
Edmonton Green Magazine. Firstly, an article written by Joe Studman, a local history guide. Deeds, Not Words, the women's movement in Edmonton before the First World War. International Women's Day was on the March the 8th and was celebrated with an unveiling of a plaque at the Triangle in Palmer's Green commemorating 100 years of votes for women, and the infamous incident in June 1914 when a suffragette meeting was ambushed by a group of louts determined to sabotage proceedings. Suffragettes were very good at getting publicity, but their motto of deeds, not words, should apply to the women of Edmonton, who actively fought for women's rights not only in Parliament, but also in the workplace. None more so than Marion May Barras, whose name will be familiar to readers who know the football stadium in Jubilee Park, named after her husband. As early as April 1906, Mrs. Barras was holding an open-air meeting at Edmonton Green promoting votes for women. Beg pardon. The meeting attracted speakers of the stature of Annie Kenny, one of the few working-class committee members of the suffragettes, and Teresa Billington Gregg, who later formed the Women's Freedom League. Marian Barras was chair of the Edmonton Women's Cooperative Guild, became a member of the board of Workhouse Guardians, and put herself forward as a candidate in local elections. Between them, Henry and Marian Barras served Edmonton for over 30 years. When women at Ely's cartridge factory went on strike in October 1906, Mrs. Barras spoke on their behalf at Edmonton Town Hall when an Edmonton branch of the National Federation of Women's Workers was formed. The national body was led by leading suffragist Mary MacArthur, who supported the women through a satisfactory result. Mary MacArthur returned to Edmonton in March 1907, supporting a fundraising event for NFWW, and again in March 1908, speaking at a socialist meeting in the town hall. Mary MacArthur activities for the women's movement led to English Heritage erecting a blue plaque on her London home. One of the young women working at Ely's, inspired by Marian Barras and Mary MacArthur, was Esther Dix. She immediately got involved with the women's movement and devoted her life to trade union work and local government. As Esther Young, she became leader of Edmonton Urban District Council in 1936, and 10 years later became the first female mayor of Edmonton Borough Council. At a second strike at Ely's, 6 years later, the women's workers were shown an exceptional degree of solidarity and determination to resolve their grievances. Esther Young and the Ely Cartridge Girls are topics I will return to in later postings. At their inaugural meeting on the 20th of April 1910, the Edmonton branch of the Women's Liberal Association were acknowledging that women of Edmonton were waking up to the fact that the governing of our nation concerns us as much as our husbands. This organisation held regular debates on the topic of women's suffrage, even attracting men to the discussion, as at the Independent School Room on 26th of April 1911. By November 1913, at Edmonton Town Hall, they proposed. This conference believes that women can only secure their right place in the Liberal Party when their claim to the franchise is recognised. It therefore urges associations to do their utmost to secure the adoption of candidates who are in favour of women's suffrage, and to undertake to abstain from working with candidates who are opposed to that reform. Meanwhile, in February 1913, the suffragettes experienced a hostile reception at Edmonton Town Hall. Even the Conservative Weekly Herald admitted that the louts who disrupted their meeting were people there who were out for a lark. They were not present because they were deeply concerned about the pros and cons of the question. More than likely, the same sort who hijacked the Palmer's Green meeting mentioned above. The event led to calls to ban suffrage meetings at the town hall. In my research for this article, I was staggered to discover that women teachers at this time would lose their jobs on marriage. This didn't stop the Edmonton Women's Teachers Association from holding a meeting at the Lamb Institute in Church Street on April the 24th, 1914, to discuss women's suffrage. Palmer's Green and the suffragettes have received high-profile coverage from local historians, but my research revealed a grassroots level of activity in Edmonton that was at least as influential as their middle-class neighbours and activists. Just because none of them went to prison for their actions, this shouldn't prevent us recognising the achievements of Edmonton women in the equality war that unfortunately today is still having to...
about Bruce Forsyth, and it's by Lee Hemmings Davis, and under the heading My Dad and Bruce, but there's a lot more than that. Every Edmonton person of a certain age claims to know Bruce Forsyth, whether they went to school together, used the family garage that was in Victoria Road N9, or their dog was related to their cat in the 1800s. My dad, Albert Hemmings, mixed with the star over the years on different occasions. My great-nan would organise coach outings, and Bruce Forsyth, aged about 12, and his family would go on these day trips. Dad says Bruce was better known at this stage as Forsyth, son from the garage. The Forsyth family was quite well known in the area through having the garage. My dad knew the family from the garage too. Bruce's dad, sister Maisie, and nephew Terry in the later years. Bruce's dad played the bugle at the Edmonton Salvation Army. Bruce was very much like his dad, tall and slim. His mum sang at the Salvation Army too. When Bruce's dad remarried, the wedding took place at All Saints Church, Church Street, N9. My dad went to the church, and at this time Bruce was really making his name and was the host of Sunday night at the Palladium. Dad said the press was all on Bruce, and he made it quite clear this was his dad's day and don't take any photos of himself. Once, when my dad saw Bruce in the local theatre, that's about 1960 in Weymouth, Bruce came into the audience and my dad tugged his jacket and said, "I know you, I'm from Edmonton." Bruce replied, "Come round to the dressing room after the show." Dad went to the stage door and a theatre worker came out and asked, "Where was the couple from Edmonton?" Dad stepped forward and was taken into Bruce's dressing room. Bruce was in a silk dressing gown and a smoking jacket, and he had a glass of scotch in his hand, and Dad joined him. Bruce asked if my dad had seen his dad recently and if he was okay. Indeed, his dad was fine, telling stories of his son Bruce and the fact that the summer season hadn't been so good and he was having to send Bruce the train fare to get home. In 1996, Bruce's sister Maisie died and her funeral was held at the Edmonton Salvation Army. My mum, Jan, was a volunteer for the Salvation Army, so was there doing the teas. Bruce was in attendance for the funeral, arriving in his pale blue Rolls Royce with the number plates BF1. Bruce's ex-wives were also in attendance, one getting lost at the Angel and Bruce looking for her. The cortege drove along Victoria Road, past the garage, which was a new garage compared with their original one. This was built when they modernised Victoria Road. When Bruce passed away, I called Dad to tell him, and we all felt sad. Dad felt sad as he was proud to have known the boy mighty from Edmonton. Whilst I felt sad as my generation wouldn't know television without such an iconic figure, Dad sent Will Nelia a condolence card. In December 2017, Dad received a personal invitation to attend Sir Bruce, a celebration. This was a night of Bruce's favourite stars, friends and families to remember this iconic all-round entertainer to be held at Bruce's and my dad's favourite theatre, the London Palladium. Sadly, Dad couldn't attend on the night as he's currently undergoing treatment, so my husband and I attended. It was a star-studded evening with the likes of Debbie McGee, Tess Daly hosting, Nicholas Parsons, stars and judges from Strictly Come Dancing, Phil Glenister, whom we shared our aisle with. New readers, backstage crews, Robert and Barbara Powell, Robert Lindsay, David Williams, Duchess of York, Kenny Lynch, Andrew Lloyd Webber, and many more. The red carpet was out along with the paparazzi. The evening started with a splendid tap routine from Adam Garcia, which he ended in the famous Bruce's thinker pose. Two of Bruce's daughters sang, Laura with a gospel group and the other Julie on her own. The Dave Arch and the Strictly Come Dancing band provided the musical accompaniment, and Dame Shirley Bassey was the star turn. There were video tributes from the likes of Jimmy Tarbuck, Sir Elton John, and a very emotional Anton Deck. Lady Forsyth received a standing ovation when she took to the stage to make a very emotional speech about her beloved Bruce, whilst their son, JJ, watched from the audience along with the rest of Bruce's family, one of whom was overheard saying, through her tears, that a lot of the photos and video clips being shown were new to her. I bought Dad a programme which was priced at £17, £10 of which was being shared by the Mary Curie and the Wilnelia Forsyth Puerto Rico appeal. It's not really a show programme, more a photo collection, and is a lovely keepsake. It's safe to say that the mighty atom boy from Edmonton did well.
An article
it was
by
nice to know
Johnson,
him.
Lids or Love Your Doorstep Senior Community Manager. Hello all. It's with great pleasure that Love Your Doorstep, or Lids, have been welcomed on board the wonderful Edmonton Green Magazine. Many of you will have heard of Lids and the work we've been doing across the borough for the past 6 years. For those of you who don't know our backstory, the concept of Lids was born when founder Emma Rigby personally witnessed the horror that was the 2011 riots. Emma wanted to set up a focal point for information sharing, and the riots motivated her into setting up a Facebook group for Enfield. This was an instant success due to the number of like-minded people who wanted to bring back the community spirit to Enfield. In 2012, the Lids website was born. Now our Facebook group has 22,000 local members, making it the largest online community group in Enfield. Fully moderated by a team day and night, our platform is the perfect place to discuss anything local in real time. We put local people in touch with local products and service. Lids currently supports over 650 local businesses for bringing together both businesses and individuals, promoting local job opportunities, supporting local charities, problem solving and sharing ideas all in one spot. For example, one of our members recently set up a Love on the Rocks Enfield Facebook group after much discussion and interest in the idea. In just a couple of weeks, the number of rocks being decorated and hidden has multiplied. And as strange as this sounds, is another demonstration of community spirit. Our borough is a wonderful place to live. If you want to witness wonderful acts of kindness on a daily basis, support a wide range of local businesses, and be part of an amazing community,
We've reached the end of our programme for this week. Thank you for listening. So from the team of John, Kitty, Ali and Peter on the controls, it's cheerio. Bye. Please remember to turn over the address label in your postal packet, put the memory stick into the packet in a closed position, and return it to us as soon as possible in readiness for the next edition. Don't forget you can call Diana Jersey regarding any help you may require in connection with Enfield Talking Newspaper on 020 8805 6578. Coming up next, the latest news and information for the Greater London area from InfoSound. The Enfield Talking Newspaper will be with you again in 1 week's time.